what Disney has given up in the last 5 years, just take the library of content that they sat on. It probably would have been worth, instead of being 10 to 12 billion in the hole, they'd probably be positive 4 billion plus by now.
Online.
Real quickly, as I want to make mention of this, there was a big dodge by Bob Iger, in my opinion, during one of the questions where he was asked, I think it was that last dude maybe from Barclays, or it might have been one of the earlier ones, but there was a huge dodge about, are you expecting to really see, overall growth in revenues with this company from streaming? Or are you doing this? Is this just going to be replacing the linear that's already been there now?
Yep.
That question was flat dodged because there was no specificity given. The reality is that analyst, there's an old thing, day one in law school, the first thing you learn is never ask a question you don't already know the answer to. He knew the answer to that question. Meaning the guy who asked it, the analyst. He knew the answer to that. He knew the answer to the question because everybody can see it. For companies like Netflix, for companies like Disney, and even the other ones, Paramount and Peacock and this new Fox thing that they're starting up, I think they recognize it. Netflix is unique because they were the first one to the show, and they've done it right. Okay, Netflix has never produced anything of their own before. They gathered up everybody else's stuff and put it on their platform. And then they started making originals, which became big hits because they had so much content for people to watch on the platform. They go surfing to see what's new and what's next. We talked about that earlier. They don't do that on Disney+. The thing with Disney+ is that Disney+, ESPN, or Hulu, they are looking to replace the collapsing revenue from linear. That's all streaming is going to do for Disney. 10 years from now, okay, let's say that Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN combined are having $10 billion a year in revenue. And linear is effectively gone at that point. All Disney has done is move the dollars from the right pocket, once again, to the left pocket.
Well, there's something I want to point out here. If you look at their revenue, right now, linear networks bring in $2.6 billion in revenue and have $1 billion in operating income.
Right.
Whereas direct-to-consumer brings in, like I said, $6 billion and brings in a paltry $300 million. And we're talking on that is a quarterly basis here. They want to hold on to linear for as long as possible because it's a great margin. And streaming is not. So the people bringing up, well, what if people just decide to cancel your streaming service on a whim? That is an incredible amount of vulnerability for this right now. Linear networks, that you're in a contract that is a severe pain to get out of it. The content costs more. The content costs more to the consumer, and it's more difficult to get out of the contract. So I get why they're pumping the brakes here, but this is a travesty.
But again, that linear, whether people keep the cords or don't keep the cords, Jonas, here's the problem. We all know what these cable companies are pushing towards. It's already been done. They want skinny bundles that don't have sports in it because 70% of people that have cable subscriptions are not watching sports. Only roughly historically 30% of the consumers out there that have a full cable package are actually watching things like ESPN or basketball. So when you're Disney and you have forced every cable subscriber for the last 30 years, every single cable subscriber for the last 30 years has to pay for ESPN. Whether they watch it or not, it doesn't matter. And they have forced every cable company to carry ESPN and its family in the most basic level of cable packages, which is what's overwhelmingly driven cable costs up over time. Things like that. And Warner Brothers, too. The second most expensive provider for a cable service is Warner. If the trend continues to where Spectrum and Comcast and everybody else out there, DirecTV, says, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're not going to sign on We're not going to sign back to Disney anymore if Disney is going to force us to put ESPN in the most basic package. This is one of the big reasons that Disney is trying to get ESPN Direct to market as quickly as possible. It's also one of the reasons why it's going to cost probably $50 a month. And they will have an introductory thing that'll be like $20. They will lose their ass on it for a year or two. But then the prices will start going through the ceiling. No, you're not going to get rid of commercials, guys, because you can't. The sports leagues depend on them. The commercials are not going away. But the fact of the matter is, it is going to have to make up for linear. Because even though they may still get linear revenue, even if they never lose another cable subscriber in the aggregate for cable television right now, if we hold it 60 to 70 million cable subscribers in the U.S., if we just stay there and never lose another one, the fact of the matter is that a lot of them over the next 10 years are going to be able to dump ESPN and reduce their cable bill.
Yep.
So it really, from that standpoint, the writing is on the wall because you've already got all the cable service providers out there demanding that very thing.
Yep. One more I'll point out here: content sales and licensing out of Disney content, 1/3 of the revenue of Disney direct to consumer, and yet matching in operating income here. So I'm going to say it again, they should just license this content to Netflix and to Peacock and to whoever, and just rake in the money instead of trying to have it all be under Bob Iger.
No, it's a waste. They have given up. When we've talked about this before, Disney Plus started in 2019, late 2019. We're in 2025. Call it 5 years, 5 full years. What Disney has given up in the last 5 years, forget all the proprietary crap they made because they've lost money on all of it. Just take the library of content that they sat on. It probably would have been worth, instead of being 10 to 12 billion in the hole, they'd probably be positive 4 billion plus by now. Easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference between trying to do it themselves versus everything else.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.